The No Nonsense Roundtable, a weekly radio show and podcast where host Dom Genova interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. And now, here's your host, Dom Genova.
Well, welcome everybody to it's our third edition of our new home, which is WYSL WLEA here. The coverage is all over Rochester. It's it's as good or better than that other talk radio station, and you can get on some FM stations and whatever like that. So you can look at nononsenseroundtable.com and see our last couple of shows, and it's great to be here. And one of the topics lately, a very current topic, has been, broadcasting and free speech. And what is free speech and what is not free speech? We had this thing going on with Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert and who says what and who can say what. And it's so I'm thinking the other day, every once in a while I think, and I go, wow, it really would be nice to have, somebody familiar with the FCC on the show and an attorney. That would be great. That would be great, having an FCC guy and an attorney. And then I start to think, holy crap, the guy that owns this station is an attorney, and he's an attorney and he owns the station. And as Bob Savage is my guest today, and there's no better person, I think, to educate us all about what the heck is going on than Bob Savage. Bob, you have a great station here. I'm glad to have a new home with you. It's the voice of liberty. I have freedom now that I didn't have before, and freedom is a really good thing. So thank you for being with me today, and I'll let you have the first words. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm very pleased to have No Nonsense Roundtable and you and your wit and wisdom here on the station. It's a great addition to the lineup. We're proud to feature the show, and so we say welcome, Don.
Well, thank you very much. Now, let's give people a little bit of a minute about you and your station here. Now, you started the station what year?
87.
87, and it has grown and grown and grown.
Oh, yeah.
And you just acquired the station in Hornell, which is really great. So not only do you have this great presence in Rochester, it's all the way down to the southern tier.
Yeah, absolutely. We got 3 signals in the Hornell and Canisteo Valley, 2 FMs and an AM down there, just like we have 2 FMs and an AM in Rochester.
Well, and getting to the topic at hand, everybody is all concerned now. People are fighting on each side of the line on this freedom of speech thing, and in particular, it came to a head with this assassination of Charlie Kirk and Jimmy Kimmel, and so let's get into a specific with that. Jimmy Kimmel gets on the air, and he says something that seems to be a falsehood. He says that the fella that shot Charlie was a MAGA guy, and the administration is running away from it because the guy was a MAGA guy. Now he's making a statement which is false. That is not true. Okay, that's
demonstrably false. Yes.
That's not true. Did he know it when he said that, or did he not know it when he said that? And he said it anyway. I don't know, but people are saying that, well, he can say whatever he wants to say. He really can't say whatever he wants to say, right?
He can say whatever he wants to say, and let's just be real clear about what the First Amendment says, what it does and what it doesn't do. The First Amendment says that you have freedom of expression and all the other accoutrements to go along with that, and what that refers to is government action. In other words, you're not going to be put in jail for something that you say. What it does not do, it does not insulate Jimmy Kimmel or anyone else from consequences for things that you might say in the private sector, or matters including employment or promotions, all those things. You say the wrong things and their consequences will flow. And that's what the First Amendment's about.
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between a network and the licensee. So,
right.
The network is not the licensee.
No.
Okay, it's the local stations.
Exactly.
So this begs the question then. So you have a fellow like him who's an entertainer. That's what he does for a living. He's an entertainer. He's
right.
not a politician. He's an entertainer. And he has a certain audience. And the audience, obviously, in the United States, you are cutting out half of your audience if you take one side's position rather than the other side's position. 50%, whatever it is, 52, 51, 50% voted for Kamala Harris, 51%, 50%, so back and forth for Trump. It wasn't 75-25. It's about 20, about even. Within reason. So when you decide that you're going to only be the voice of one side, you are eliminating the other side that might be interested in talking to you or listening to you. Johnny Carson made that point years and years ago when Mike Wallace interviewed him, and Johnny Carson said, why would I do that? I don't have any more. I don't have any more right to influence people's beliefs than anybody else.
Sure. You can give your opinion, but you're absolutely right. Some people are going to react to that in a way that may not be best for your ratings.
Well, and the funny thing is, before we get into a little bit more in the weeds with this thing, I see this with local people in the music business, and if they knew what my feelings were about things, they would maybe not like me. So if I know this person is not going to like me, I probably am not going to buy tickets to go see his show or be a sponsor of his show, and it would be better off if he was just quiet about how he felt about things.
Well, yeah, sure, and it's important to realize that the debate about First Amendment related issues pertaining to Jimmy Kimmel completely misses the point. That's not what the discussion is really all about, because the government, notwithstanding one side of the aisle complaining that this is government action, trammeling First Amendment speech rights, that had nothing to do with this decision. This was actually. It was a market forces, free market capitalism type decision, which is really the way that things should be. Did you want to get into the fairness doctrine real quick?
Yeah. We got time for that, because I think people just don't understand this, and especially the thing about the licensees, because the licensees, the stations that are not carrying him right now are pretty much, I would think, have a red state sort of clientele that are listening to their stations. And they know that their advertisers are not going to be real happy about funding Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, well, a fairness doctrine. Just a quick dealing with that, just very briefly.
Right.
This was legislation that was imposed in 1947, and what that doctrine did is it insisted that broadcast stations, number one, air controversial issues, and number two, give all sides to the best of their ability to provide a balanced coverage. Now, the whole premise down behind this whole thing, the fairness doctrine, was scarcity of media, because in 1947. The media landscape in the United States was 700 AM stations, a smattering, very few FM stations, and maybe 30 TV stations. No internet, very little FM penetration. And the practical effect of this enactment was exactly what happens when we get government action. It generally tends to produce the exact opposite of its intended purpose. What it did is it pretty much ensured that the radio stations would not cover any controversial issues, because they didn't want to get into the rigmarole of record keeping and being accountable and everything else. So talk radio until 1987, when Reagan was president, consisted of, like home fix-it clinics and personal advice from Dr. Laura, advice to the lovelorn, car fix-it shows and that sort of thing. When Reagan and Congress repealed the Fairness Doctrine in 87, immediately controversy became that ruled the day in radio, gave birth to a guy called Rush Limbaugh and all of the other shows of that ilk since then. So it's been removing the Fairness Doctrine had the perverse effect of making sure we have all kinds of fairness everywhere.
This goes to one of my marketing concepts, because what is your product? Your product is controversy.
Yes.
You're selling controversy. You're making controversy. You're encouraging controversy. You're throwing gas on the fire.
Did you hear what Dom Genova said on the air this morning?
And so, it's like I say about Kodak. Kodak, they thought that their product was pictures on pieces of paper. No, it wasn't. It was imaging. Right.
Right.
So your product is controversy. But one comment that you made the other day to me is about the airwaves. Who owns the airwaves? Mm-hmm. And could you explain that concept to our listeners?
Yeah, the concept is the people own the airwaves. You folks out there own the airwaves. And in point of fact, every September we have the unique privilege of paying rent for these airwaves. We have what's called a spectrum use fee, and it's based on the number of people in our coverage area. So we're kind of, we're renting, folks. We're renting this space from you.
Well, the other part of that, if I remember what you said to me, was that then you as a licensee have a responsibility to the public's good. So
Yes.
you can't use this for just anything you want because it's public's good. Now, when you're in cable, you can do whatever you want, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about the fairness doctrine, not the fairness doctrine, but that thing about the public good, you can't use it for like your airwaves for personal communication between two sites and stuff like that. There's a lot of different restrictions you have to have.
Yes.
How about the equal time thing with the elections coming up and stuff like that? How many days can you have a candidate on, or you have to give them equal time? And how about if they don't ask for equal time? And I mean, how does that work?
Well, equal time is completely different from the fairness doctrine.
Okay.
Equal time only applies to political candidates.
Okay.
So if you give time, provide time to a political candidate, which is not legitimate news coverage.
Okay.
In other words, some kind of a press conference or some announcement or something like that. You just let them come on, your morning show, and you chit-chat with them. You're supposed to offer equal time to any opposing candidates. Now, this starts as soon as that candidate announces, as soon as they're a legally recognized candidate.
Really?
Now, it's a very flexible, loosey-goosey kind of thing. When they see equal time, it doesn't have to be the exact number of minutes. It doesn't have to be the same time period. You basically just have to say, you know what, John Smith was on, and you've got 7 days. You've only got 7 days.
Oh, really?
Yes, from the time that you make this time available to candidate A to allow candidate B to come on. If they don't take advantage of it, it expires. It automatically evaporates.
Okay, so here's a question, because this would relate to what I do. So if I have a candidate on the show, and do I have to reach out to the other candidate, or does the other candidate have to reach out to me? In other words, if I have John Smith on the show and he's running for mayor of Rochester, do I have to reach out to the other candidates, or is it up to them?
It's a good idea that you do it so that you are not so that you're not liable to the accusation that you didn't provide them equal time. You just want to have the proof that you did that. It can be an email, it can be a phone call that you log, some form of contact. I would recommend that you do it in some form of writing, and then you can sit down and chat with them. And the equal time can take various different forms. Sometimes, for example, if you're a regular member of the cast here on the station, and you had John Smith on, and his opponent wanted to come on, you can point out to him, being on a talk show it's a pain in the tuchus. It requires preparation and everything else. How would you like some spots? We'll just run some commercials for your campaign. How about we give you 25 spots?
So so there's people that own their shows like me, and there's people that don't own their shows. Now, is there a difference between what they're allowed to do?
No.
Okay. It depends what the station is. Because when I was at the former station, I could not have a current candidate on.
Well, that's because they didn't want to deal with equal time.
Yeah. And here I have freedom.
Yeah. Where are they going to put them? That sort of thing.
So with this whole thing that's going on with this equal speech thing and whatever, one of the things is that some of this, talk about just the economics of it, is that late night television is not what late night television used to be.
No.
I mean, back in the day, and you and I are old enough that we remember that you watched Johnny Carson before you went to bed.
Absolutely.
And then the test pattern would come on. The test pattern would come on. on with the national anthem. They would sign off. You couldn't even imagine now. You would sign off, and then they wouldn't come back until the next morning. And things have changed a lot. I mean, I read a biography of Walter Cronkite. Mm-hmm. Walter Cronkite was the most trusted man in the United States. Was Walter Cronkite. And when Lyndon Johnson lost Cronkite, he says, "I lost Middle America." Yeah. This whole thing with Vietnam. He says, "I'm just toast." And the interesting thing is, when they first started doing television news, they did 15 minutes because they figured they couldn't fill a half an hour or an hour. 15 minutes, and they would sign off with, "Well, this is the news for today. Go get your newspaper." Right. Because it would be a newspaper in the morning and a newspaper in the evening, and that has changed a lot. So a lot of this, what you and I were talking about the other day, is that the whole culture has changed. If you are watching late night television, you're really in the minority. You're getting a lot of that on YouTube, or you're getting your snippets the next day. I mean, it's just not the way it was years ago.
No. YouTube, Instagram, people get their very diverse sources for news these days, and lots of them, big choice. Lots of times what people do is they kind of have the same orientation towards news consumption that they do if they're sports fans. You tune in the cable channel that represents the teams that you like, so you can root for them. Same deal with the TV news. That's right. If you like the Democrat viewpoint, hey, go MSNBC, CNBC. If I'm a MAGA guy, it's Fox.
That's right. Yeah. Well, personally speaking, I'll go read the New York Times and the New York Post. Because somewhere in between there's got to be. So after all these years, now you've had the station for how many years, Old?
38.
38 years. Okay. Have there been any one of these WKRP moments, like dropping the turkeys and stuff? Like, have you had something happen that was completely lighthearted, ridiculous, or something we can tell our listeners before we sign off on this segment?
Oh, lighthearted, boy! There's so many of them, but we've had a lot of fun with the station. We've had a lot of I'm kind of coming up empty with a lighthearted moment that compares with the turkey drop. But listen, if you run one of these things long enough, you're going to have a lot of goofiness that goes on. Yeah.
Well, did you ever have somebody controversial on?
We had a guy called Rush Limbaugh in these very studios.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, and that's really not funny, but I had David K. Johnston on, and David K. Johnston was a biographer of Trump. Mm-hmm. Doesn't like Trump at all. Yeah. Okay. I had him on the show. It's a Pulitzer Prize winner, for better or worse. And then people are calling me up, yelling at me that I had him on the show. It's like, this is no nonsense. It goes both ways. I don't care. I'll have anybody on who's famous. I mean, I've had some really great guests, and I'll put a little plug in for the show. I've had Jack Alaco's got 11 Emmys. Gene Cornish, who's one of the founders of the Rascals. Groovin' Good Lovin'. It's a Beautiful Morning. I had the first Mrs. Muhammad Ali on the show. I mean, Don Alhart has been a regular on my show. So I have all these wonderful people that I have, and I try to be like, let me know what your opinion is, but I'm not going to sit there and argue with you. Yeah, I mean, that's not what No Nonsense is about. So I'm very proud to be here. Thank you very much. I feel like we have a great relationship. It's like the end of the Casablanca. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah, okay. So, let's head off to Brazzaville.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And hey, gang, coming up next are a couple of different things, and one is our segment on honoring a veteran, which we are doing instead of commercials.
Thanks, Dom. It's been great having you here.
Well, I'd like to introduce somebody to you, and this goes under the section of Let's Honor a Veteran. And it goes beyond let's honor a particular veteran, but some veterans do things for other veterans and are associated with different programs and ways to help veterans. And I like to give people the ability to show a light on these things. And there's a wonderful gentleman in front of me. His name is Lee Beggy, and Lee was a Navy fella for 28 years. Well, you're always a Navy fella. I mean, that's yeah. You know, once in the service, you're always recognized as that. But it's 28 years, and you rose to what level was it?
I made Chief Petty Officer. That's E7. 28 years. Very proud of my service. I'd do it all over again if I had to.
Now here's a question. I usually ask people, what did you want to do when you were 10 years old? Okay, so let me ask you that question. What did you want to do when you were 10 years old?
I just had this conversation earlier today with my boss at work. I don't know how we came up, but I wanted to be a garbage man. I thought it was the coolest thing seeing that guy hanging on the back of the truck, and I never made it to be a garbage man. But,
oh, that's wonderful. You know, we've had over 300 shows.
Yeah.
300.
I bet you nobody's ever asked to be a garbage man.
Nobody's ever said that. So this was a crooked path. This wasn't a straight path. This was a crooked path. Now, when people go into the service, I see. Just as a casual observer, some people go on a sense of patriotism. You know, I love this country, and especially after 9/11. I mean, I knew you were there before that, but they get motivated by that. And some people look at it like it's a great opportunity for a life that will provide for you forever. Okay, and it's like, who introduced me to you was Amy Falwell, and she went in because she saw that as a way of constructing a life for herself that would be very successful. Now, what was your motivation?
Well, when I was as a senior in high school, I realized my parents had gotten divorced when I was 15, and they basically told me there's no money for college. And our guidance counselors at school didn't really push the student loans or anything like that. So I knew my father and my grandfather were both Navy veterans, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to join the Navy. And that's really, I signed the papers when I was 17 in my senior year. Both my parents had to sign off on that because I was under 18, and that's how I. That's why I went into the Navy. Now,
Chief Petty Officer is a pretty prestigious job. I see you nodding. Yes, it's a very prestigious job. But what is the path to get there? I mean, what do you have to go through? And what is your job as a Chief Petty Officer?
Well, comparing to civilian world, it's more like a manager or director level. You're managing people. You're junior sailors. And I started right at the bottom as an E1, seaman recruit, work my way up. You take advancement exams for E4, Petty Officer 3rd class, Petty Officer 2nd class, 1st class E6, and then again you take an exam for Chief.
Now you're working at L3 Harris now, right?
I do, yeah.
Now where did you get the education to do what you're doing? Was that in the Navy or?
Part of it was my background in the Navy, but I have a bachelor's degree from RIT in computer engineering.
Oh, God bless you. And when did you get that?
Back in, let me see, May of 2002.
And the thing about you, I mean, talking to you, you're so proud of what you've done or what you've achieved in life, and it's wonderful when you get to be, well, you're younger than I am at our age, and you say that you made the right decisions, right?
Absolutely, I would do it again.
Well, and I think that we have to tell our young people that too. I mean, it's a great career path. I talk about all the time about college and whatever, and college can give you a marketable skill or not. Okay. Sure. Good or not. Now, let me ask you a couple of very maybe odd questions. What's the best thing about being at sea, and what's the worst thing?
For me, I enjoyed being out to sea when you can't see land at all. Time to reflect, think about your family, think about the ones you've left at home, loved ones. Things that I didn't particularly care about being at sea, the 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. watch. Getting woken up at 03:30 to go relieve somebody on watch. That was not my favorite shift. I didn't like that. But, you make the best of it. I mean, it takes a special person, and it's not made for everybody. Not everybody wants to do these things, and we did it.
Well, I've never been out to sea, but I would have to believe that these dark nights and the clear skies have got to give you some awe when you're out there.
It's impressive. You can see stars from miles and miles and hundreds of miles.
And it's scary when you have to. Yeah. What are the biggest waves you've ever gone through, you think?
Oh, I remember having to hold my lunch tray in front of me. We were probably 35-degree rolls, left to right, port, starboard, just crazy.
Well, so let's get down to, I call it like a retail section of the show. Let's talk about these two organizations that you're involved with. It's Sonny Mike, is that the name of it?
The Sonny Mike Foundation.
Let's talk about the Sonny Mike Foundation. We just have a few minutes here, but let's talk about Sonny Mike and then Honor Flight. Which is coming up really soon, right?
Yes, we just had, I could talk about Honor Flight first. We just had Mission 91 just came home this past Sunday at the airport. We had 61 veterans come home. Honor Flight Rochester started in July of 2008. And since then, we've flown just over 4,600
God bless you.
From the local region. There's over 130 hubs, Honor Flight hubs in the Honor Flight network. And Rochester is probably one, if not the only one, east of the Mississippi that spends the night down. We stay in Baltimore at the Hilton BWI. A lot of flights when we all get to the airport at 3:30 in the morning, Syracuse and Buffalo.
And then they go back, huh?
They fly down, they tour, and then they fly back that night. And, you're getting back super late at night. There's probably not a lot of people at the airport. If you've never been to one of the Rochester homecomings, I highly recommend
you invite the public to do that.
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Both floors of the Rochester airport are filled.
Oh, what a wonderful thing! And as these vets get older, I mean going down and coming back on the same day is going to be very rough on some of these guys. Right?
Absolutely. That's why it's nice to spend the night down there.
Well, good. So let's talk about if anybody wants to get involved with the organization. You have a webpage for the Honor Flights.
It's honorflightrochester.org. And you can click on the volunteer if you have a relative that you think should go on the flight. I mean, the veteran flies for free. I would highly recommend anybody with a family member that hasn't been on this trip, they need to go. It's a lifetime experience.
And that's something that most people have heard of. But the Sonny Mike thing, that's something that I would virtually guess that nobody has heard of. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Sonny Mike Foundation started in August of 21, so we're just over 4 years old, and
no, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So, Mike was a Navy veteran, and his daughter Deborah, Dr. Deb Luberts, she is the CEO. Mike passed away. She wanted to create a nonprofit to honor her father and carry on his legacy. So we pay it forward and help veterans, mostly with financial assistance. And to date, we've helped 162 veterans. We don't have any state or federal funding. It's all donations. Our biggest moneymaker is our golf tournament. We just had our 5th annual golf tournament just this past weekend. Out at Victor Hills, and that allows us to keep going.
Well, good. And how about if people want to find out more and contribute to that? How about the webpage for that?
Same thing. It's sunnymike.org.
Okay.
Yep.
And with that, I'm so glad to have met you. We were talking before the show, and Nita's dad was in the Navy. He was a chief petty officer too during World War II. I mean, thank you for your service. We know how important it is that what you do for us, and anything we can do to support you, we're certainly want to be here for you.
Absolutely, Dom. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and Let's keep it going.
And thank God we have one less garbage man.
That's right. I would have been terrible at it.
Well, I've had this no-nonsense roundtable show since 2019, February of 2019. We've had, we reduced about 325 shows so far, and a lot of them are very, very interesting, and a lot of them have nice little segments in them that we can take and extract them out and make shorts out of them. No-nonsense roundtable shorts. And I'm going to be serving up some of these quote-unquote shorts to you over time. And just listen to them, realize that they've been played, they're played from years ago, maybe some of them, but they're timeless and they are interesting, and there's a reason that we made a quote-unquote short out of them. Now, I've been very, very fortunate in meeting a lot of people that are famous, influential people that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Jack Alaco, one of my guests who became a good friend, has 11 Emmys. I'm going to play for you now about a 10-minute segment, and it is from Brother Wease. Brother Wease, what a magnificent fellow. He treats me like an equal, even though I'm just some guy who's doing this kind of on the side and very much an amateur at it. But let me play this short that we have of Brother Wease. I think that the best way to explain this gentleman is that if I was to describe a song and I was to put somebody with this song, it would be My Way. Remember My Way? I did it my way. It's Brother Wease. Brother Wease, welcome to the show. I'm not going to sing My Way, but I think that's kind of sums up the way you have lived your life. How you doing?
Well, that's really funny. I was just telling somebody about... I was at the Record Archive last Friday. On Fridays, they have the Finally Friday happy hour. Have you been to Record Archive?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, records on top of records, yeah.
But, I mean, have you been to the bar and the room in the back where they have live music and parties?
Well, yeah, I've been there just once, but years and years ago. But I know where it is. A very cool area, yeah.
Well, on Fridays, they have Finally Friday happy hours with entertainment. And I was in town for 4 days. I'm living in Fort Lauderdale for 9 months a year. So I just had to go to my grandson's big first birthday party. So we had to fly in 4 days. So we went to the Finally Friday, and two guys approached me that were old producers of mine, and I couldn't recognize them because they got old. But we ended up having a great time talking, and they wanted to know a little bit about the history, and My Way was the thing, because I used to get yelled at the beginning of my situation. And I used to tell my partner at the time, don't fight with the management, just agree, and then we won't do it. We'll just do it our way.
My way.
And then, as long as we had ratings, they couldn't tell us what to do. So we would pretend we would, but you do it your way, my way.
Well, I'm looking at the website. I'm doing a little bit of freshening up on my research about you, and there's some questions here. And let's see, iHeart says Wease is a National Radio Hall of Famer, which is true. Has dominated the Rochester radio market for years. And I love this statement. His unique perspective on today's topics and yesterday's stories, and goes blah blah. His unique perspective. That's like when somebody asks you what somebody looks like, and they tell you they have a really great personality, a unique perspective. Why don't you describe what you think that? Why does iHeart say you have a unique perspective?
Well, I guess if people follow a cookie cutter way of doing things, and if someone like myself comes in, but since I've been doing morning radio for 40 years, everybody does it my way now. I mean, at the beginning, of course, Howard Stern used to accuse me of copying him, when the fact of the matter is he copied a friend of mine from Chicago, Steve Dahl, and I never heard Howard Stern. I mean, he tried to tell people he's a liar, but he tried to tell people I listened to him in Philadelphia. I was already in Rochester when he was syndicated to Philadelphia. But now, everybody does radio the way we did it. But when I went in, my show was unique. It was unique. They had the pirate radio. They had a morning, what do they call it, zoo. They had morning zoos and all that stuff. But for the grace of God, I could be rich because it came down. I was headhunted for a morning show in Los Angeles. And it was so interesting because the guy that was doing it didn't want air checks. He wanted me to do a cassette where I just talked to him. And I did it. And I was never interested in leaving Rochester, but I figured if LA happened, I would have to do it. So he called me one day and said, it's down to you and two guys from Little Rock, Arkansas. I went, what? I mean, I couldn't believe that. And they got the job, Mark and Brian, on KLOS. I thought it might have been Alabama, but I'm pretty sure I was shocked about Little Rock. But anyway, I always knew that if I got that job, I would have killed. Because at the time, only because it's not bragging, it's just that only at that time in Los Angeles, all they had were top 40 morning zoos and the same crap. Mark and Brian, who took the job that I could have had, were free radio like I do and they do. And they killed. They killed. Well, and but it's just, but now everybody does it. Everybody.
Well, one of the things I learned from you when I first had you on the show is we were talking about ratings, and you said, I've repeated this many, many times since I talked to you. You said whoever's listening to you, you're number one to them. Says whether it's this guy or that guy, you're number one to them. So you're concerned with the ratings, but you're more concerned with your family, your radio family that knows you and loves you and turns you on when you're on the air. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that, because I look at my Nielsen ratings, they seem to be good. But you know what? If they're listening to you, they like you, and who can tell how many friends you have is one better than the other, right?
Well, it's a funny thing to talk about ratings because the methodology is scary. It's all scary. But my first year on the radio, on morning radio, the first ratings, TV came in, news to interview me. And I always used to have a nightmare that I would get a zero. If they go to the they only take a small bunch of people. I could have got a zero, but I ended up doing really, really good for a long period of time.
Well, you're your own man, and it really does come through that Wease is Wease. He's his own man, and I think that's what your brand is too. I mean, so let's do a little bit of retail here. We have the Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony happening at the 5th at the Kodak Hall at the Eastman Theater. Now, last year, tell me about your presentation last year. I mean, when you got inducted.
Well, here's the funny part of it. I brought Joan Osborne, a friend of mine, who performed, and so I had a lot of people come to see me be inducted. I don't mean the room; I mean friends of mine that came and listeners. So I get up there, and I don't think I spoke 5 minutes, and my buddy Tony Gross gives me the hook. I said, "Bro, you giving me the hook?" He said, "Yeah." And meanwhile, I got Joan Osborne getting ready to play on my behalf. So then after she played, he let me come back again. But I have to tell you, and I don't know if you'll keep this in the broadcast, the reason that happened was that the induction before mine which was either I think they had to skip a year for COVID or something. But the induction before mine, a certain fella spoke for 45 minutes. 45 minutes. So they decided to give, which is a smart thing. People don't want to sit in that theater for 4 hours. So that was a smart thing to give a time limit, but whoa. people that came to see me, because I had a lot of jokes ready.
Yeah.
But it was a great night because my good friends, the Majestics, got inducted that night. And, you know, I used to be with them I'm not in the band, but Ronnie Stackman was actually the best man at one of my weddings, and we went on our honeymoon. That's from the Majestics.
Well, I hope to see you then, and I really do appreciate your kindness and your friendship to me over these years of knowing you, and you're one of a kind in the best possible way. So I appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks.
Now, I've been very, very lucky to be able to have, well, people that you know and people that you don't know on the show. And one of the people that you absolutely know is Mayor Malik Evans. And here is a short of what we talked about, well, a little while back, Mayor Malik Evans and I. Well, welcome everybody to another edition of your No Nonsense Roundtable. I have the honor of having the mayor of the city of Rochester in my studio once again, Mayor Malik Evans. I think this is fourth or fifth time.
Well, this is a tradition, though. If you remember, we always try to do this either towards the end of the year, but also to kick off the new year. So here we are. Happy New Year to you, 2025. I know I'm going to have a good year if I'm sitting at the No Nonsense Roundtable.
Don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up. So, how many years have you been married? We've been on this is our 7th year, but
I'm going into year 4 this year. So it's been 3 years and 30 days.
All right. So let's start off with a question. What has surprised you?
Well, not much has surprised me because you always have to be prepared for the unexpected. I've just been always programmed that way to be surprised by the unsuspecting things that may come up. But I think that what has kind of reminded me of the difficulty of the job is just the variety of things that you are responsible for and what you have to do.
Oh, yeah.
So, one day you're talking about grants and road work, and then you're talking about youth development and arts and culture. And another day you're talking about, the public market. So I think the variety that takes place within that cities are responsible for, you're always reminded about all the important things that you have to do. And then you're also reminded that you're talking about the bond rating, right? You're talking about S&P and the S&P bond rating and why that's important for residents. I think that what surprises me is that people also still think that the mayor does everything. People don't realize that there are so many levels of government. So we get calls into the office for me to solve problems that aren't even within the city's purview. Yeah. But it reminds you that you are a repository and a connector, and that you still have to work to try to help people, even though it's not within your wheelhouse. And a lot of things are not.
Well, yeah, and there are a couple of things I learned from you from our past interviews, and there are a couple of things that really hit me. And one of them, you said that we used to be a company town, now we're a town of companies.
That's right. That's right.
And I never looked at a thing at Rochester like that, and it actually got me thinking. I mean, your thought there got me thinking in a little bit of a different way. And when people come to live here, okay, they're surprised by what a great place it is.
Right.
Right. I mean, the culture that we have, you got a AAA ball team, you got the Kodak, you got the Kodak Center, you got the Eastman Museum, Eastman
Strong Museum,
you have the Eastman School of Music, you
Rochester Museum and Science Center,
all these things, all these things.
Yeah.
Property values, are now. Granted, you got some problems. I mean, everybody has.
Every urban area has challenges, and anyone that says that Rochester Rochester unique and the urban challenges that you face, or challenges in regional challenges. You're not paying attention to what's going on in the rest of the world. So we are not unique or immune from them, but we don't hide from them. We address them. We address them head on to make sure that we try to fix them. But we also make sure that does not cloud the goodness of our community. And, sometimes it takes people from the outside to remind us of the assets that we have here.
You just gave me a softball. Thank you ever so much. Well, here's the thing, and I've told the story a number of different times. So I'm traveling down to see my daughter in South Bend. I'm going by, Buffalo. Buffalo's got an identity. Yep. Cleveland's got an identity, and I'm thinking that we have this rich culture that goes beyond what a lot of other communities have. And, somebody said something. Well, actually, it was Bob Duffy when I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. He goes, well, I was talking to the president of Kodak back when, and he says, this is the hardest place to get people to come to, and the hardest place to get people to leave, because once they're here.
That's right.
And I always thought, Mark Cohen,
yes,
of course.
Yes,
Mark Cohen's an outsider. Ben Jacobs is an outsider. I'm an outsider.
That's right. My parents were outsiders.
Okay.
My parents were outsiders, and they said my dad came here for graduate school and said I will only stay for 2 years. He is now buried in Riverside Cemetery.
Wow. Okay. So here's the deal. As a marketing guy, I'm gonna lay this one on you.
That's right.
So when somebody buys a product and they realize it's better than they thought, the reasons to buy are not why they're here, okay? Their consideration, that wasn't part of their consideration. So my thing is that we need to do something to raise our consideration among people who are looking for places to live, because on their selector list, it isn't, oh, Rochester's great with this and this and this and this and this. We need to get some way of getting people on Long Island to think that we are not this, upstate Rust Belt city. We have these really great attributes, and I don't care if you're talking about, culturally, or the price of housing, the schools, generally speaking. Yeah, we have some schools that are that need some help, but generally speaking, we have so many different attributes to this this community that we should find some way of promoting it. And that's why I'm going around to people right now, saying that what can we do? There are different. It's a strategy, and there's different tactics that we can use to get something done.
And it's also approaching Rochester. Are you going to do it from a deficit model or an addition model? And oftentimes with cities, what people do is they look at their deficits and not their assets.
Right.
And the other asset that we have is we're one of the few places that have a river, a lake, a waterfall, and a canal. In a couple of years, we're going to have High Falls State Park right downtown in the middle of the city, across from a ball field, right down the street from the Eastman School of Music. So we have these great assets and resources, and we need to make sure that to the people here that are currently here in Rochester, that they know these assets are here so they can take advantage of them. But also, as we continue to try to grow our region, we highlight those assets, and those assets extend beyond just the city of Rochester. That's why I tell people, when you're on a plane, you don't say, hey, I'm from Honeyway Falls. You say, hey, I'm from Rochester. And when you say Rochester, that means the Finger Lake region. That means Rochester Institute of Technology, that is at RIT. They got a new president that's coming that I just met, who's going to do a great job, by the way. And so it's important to make sure that we talk about the assets of this region and really brand ourselves. I mean, think about all the festivals that we have.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But you don't discover these things till you get here.
You got to get here, and you got to get in front.
So I have this website. It's rochesterhonors.org. And what I'm just trying to explore different ways that we might be able to get together and do this. A rising tide lifts all boats, like Jack Kennedy said. Right. So is there a way of coordinating something into one presentation a year that would advance these things? Is there something we could do with real estate agents? Is there something that we could do with colleges to get people to not only come to college here, but to stay?
Right.
And here's the thing. I don't know. I don't know exactly what all the tactics should be, but I know the strategy is we really should get ahead of this thing where we're garbage plates and lake effect snow.
Right, and when we talk about the snow, we should talk about how we celebrate.
Yes.
How we celebrate. Winter,
I know where you're going with that.
Because we have places like Rock Holiday Village. By the way, I just announced yesterday for 3 years. For 3 years, the Special Olympics, Winter Special Olympics, are going to be here for the next 3 years, coming here in the wintertime. That's huge for our region. Thousands of athletes from all over New York State coming to Rochester in the winter. Rock Holiday Village had record turnout in the winter, in the cold of winter, at Martin Luther King Park downtown, with igloos and ice skating and all those things. So we have the opportunity to celebrate the assets that we have here.
Okay, and let's talk about all the things. We have about a minute left in this break. Let's talk about all the things we don't have. Wildfires. Mudslides. We don't have a lack of water. We have plenty of water. We don't have tornadoes, hurricanes, and
earthquakes.
And earthquakes.
And if we have them, they're on a smaller
floods.
scale. Right.
So it's all this good stuff, and I gravitate toward the one thing that I think is the most important thing of all, is that we have this incredible tech hub. I mean, that is, it's going no place but in a good place over time.
Our technological advancements are unbelievable with the universities like U of R and RIT. We have the tech hub, we're a designated tech hub. And then we have the downtown Rochester Innovation Zone, in which you have these places that are running out of space. The Sibley buildings in NextCore are almost out of space because they have so many businesses that will grow to be the town of companies that I talk about.
Now, here's my car buying tip of the week. When you look at an ad, it has all this disclaimer in it. I talk about this all the time. It's not called a claimer. It's called a disclaimer. And what I want you to look for in that disclaimer is, or mouse print. I like calling it mouse print. In the mouse print is the statement that says all rebates applied. Now, what does all rebates applied mean? And you know what it means? You have no idea what it means. And this is the reason. Because some dealers will list every rebate you could possibly get, but you can't get them in combination. So, for instance, there's the national rebate on the car, and everybody, you have to be just a human being and an adult, and you get that rebate. And then there are ones that are for special groups. You could be a college graduate, you could be in the military, you could be a member of a certain union and whatever, and those are individual. Now, here's the thing. The ones that are individual are not what they call stackable. What does that mean, Dom? Well, that means that you can't get both at the same time. You can't get a recent college graduate rebate and get a military rebate and get one for being the member of the union at the same time. So when it says all rebates applied, sometimes dealers put in all those rebates. It looks like you get $7,000 worth of rebates. You don't get $7,000 worth of rebates. You can't get $7,000 worth of rebates. But they put that in to make it seem like you do, but you don't. The other thing about rebates is that the rebates has to be a national rebate. Sometimes dealers will say they give a rebate, but it's really not a rebate. And the other thing is the rebate is taxable. The rebate is something that comes from the manufacturer. It gets taxable like it's money coming from someplace else. So you got to be careful when you look at an ad and says all rebates applied. The other thing is that when you look at an ad and it says that, let's say you have to have a current lease of XYZ. Well, that's in the small print. So nobody spends $20,000 to do an ad and says you have to have a lease on XYZ, expecting that that's the only people that they're going to attract. They're trying to attract people that that don't see the small print that says that you have to have that lease because they know who you are. They know who you are. If they say, well, you have to have a lease in a such and such car, they know who you are. They could just contact you. They didn't need to put that big ad in there. So that's my car buying tip of the week. For the best advice, go to don'tbetaken.com and order one of my books. You can get one for, well, if you want to get the online edition, it's like $6. It's going to save you thousands. But go ahead. Go take a look and get it all at the same time. And my Dealer to English Dictionary, I spent a lot of time on that. I think it's fun. But go read it. Thanks.
And now, entertainment news from the town of Middle Finger Lake. Contract talks at radio station WIFU and weekday talk show host Lon Bobsberry have broken down in an extreme way, where Mr. Bobsberry has decided to exercise what he has been claiming to be his nuclear option. He has finally executed his threat of playing Neil Sedaka's Calendar Girl over and over again for his entire 4-hour show each weekday until his demands are met. Over and over, "I can't take it anymore," is heard all over town by distraught Middle Lakeans. The town council has scheduled an emergency town hall meeting for tonight at the First Church of Perpetual Anxiety at 8 o'clock. "Oh, for God's sakes, when I was a teenager, I would buy Neil Sedaka CDs just so I could erase them because they were cheaper than the blanks," said Sheriff Clyde Peavy. "This is inhumane. Something's got to be done." More at 11. This is Justine P. reporting from the Middle Finger Lake studio in the town of Middle Finger Lake. Join us next week right here, and you can see the recorded interview now at NoNonsenseRoundtable.com. And don't forget to order your book at Don'tBeTaken.com. That's all for now. Carry on.